All right, Detroit Lions hit with a lot of injuries in week 2, but I'm here to tell you it's okay. It sucks for the guys that got injured, no doubt, from an individual standpoint. But as a team, now that the dust is settled, we see who's out, we see how long they're going to be out. It's okay. Um, I I was a little nervous, but now looking at the corresponding moves with the injuries, you realize it's not that bad. It's the NFL. Guys are going to get hurt. You hate that it all kind of happened at once since we came out of the Kansas City game really in good shape. You hate to see it. So, first things first, I'll start with the big one and then I'll look at the corresponding moves for it is, CJ Gardner Johnson was placed on injured reserve along with James Houston. Now, if my memory serves, I think IR back in the day used to be your season was over. There's no way you're returning. Now they've made some IR adjustments where you can do like a 4-week IR, and that's what these guys are. Injured reserve, 4 weeks, but everyone expects them to be out even longer. So that's CJ Gardner Johnson and James Houston. James Houston for sure we know is going to be out. He broke his leg, and then CJ Gardner Johnson torn pectoral is a season ender, but we don't know all that for sure. We just know kind of what we know at this point. So then if you look at it, here's a corresponding move. Placed on IR. Josh Pascal's another one. Dorsey, which by the way, Dorsey, of all these, he gets lost in the shuffle. Like, oh yeah, Dorsey. He played really well on special teams. That's a big loss there. So James Houston, we have depth at defensive end. I'll look at that in a second. We're okay. Josh Pascal, though, is kind of an inside-outside guy. We still are okay there. And then CJ Gardner Johnson, we're okay because we have Tracy. Now, CJ is better than Tracy. Like, nobody's going to argue that. But we have Tracy Walker, a former starter, a player that was able, because of CJ Gardner Johnson and getting more reps, was able to rest and get ready. And now it's his time. Like, it's just like, we need you, man. Like, talk about next man up. That gets thrown around so much. Like, CJ, we need you. And Khalil Dorsey will look at that. So here's what the Lions did. They went ahead and said, okay, from the 53-man roster, and by the way, this is from Pride of Detroit. Shout out to them. Love what they do. Chase Lucas, which he has played good in spots. He's going to get his chance. Let's go. The guard, Owasaki, I don't know how to say his name. All right, let's go. But then Zonovan Knight. Yes, Zonovan Knight. Now, this dude's interesting, okay? And I'm going to get to him in just a second because David Montgomery is out as well. Now, he hasn't put on IR or anything like that, but David Montgomery's going to miss some time. If you think about running backs miss time. So, I'm not trying to be overly optimistic. I'm just trying to say that it's okay. It's the NFL. We're going to find out about our depth. And someone put a great comment in. Put your comments below. Don't forget we have depth now. I think before we're so scarred because we didn't have any depth for the last 4, 5, 6, 10 years. So that anytime there was injuries, it was just devastating. It's like I don't even know who's gonna come in. Now we've got more options, right? So Zonovan Knight is an interesting player. This dude is young. He comes out of high school, which, by the way, I love like the pro athletes' high school stats. He had over 5,000 yards rushing in high school and 71 touchdowns. 71 touchdowns in high school. Man, if you could get like 10 touchdowns a season in high school, like that's pretty good. And that's if you play freshman, that's 40. Dude has 71. Love it. So he goes and then commits to North Carolina State. There at North Carolina State, he's there during COVID, so they have some games they don't, but he's a good player. He's 5'11", 210, and then he goes to the New York Jets, signed as an undrafted free agent, makes the active roster, and then goes from basically active roster, practice squad, up, down, up, down. So he's right on the fringe, and now he's going to get his opportunity with the Detroit Lions. But we know Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be our guy. We got Craig Reynolds. We're fine. And then this guy's going to come in and spell them. Running back wise, we're okay because remember, we have a good offensive line and a really good scheme to run the ball. We're okay. Now, David Montgomery is running hard. But by the way, let me know in the comments. He scares me with the way that David Montgomery runs the ball, like the way he's going to fumble it. I love that he runs hard. I love that. But just the way he runs with the ball is a little nerve-wracking, and he did end up fumbling. So I still want him in there. I'm just saying he makes me very nervous with the way he runs the ball. So Knight comes in and let's go, Knight. Like, let's give me something. Shot in the arm, let's go. Now, Vitai's out, but that's why we went ahead and got Dan Skipper in here. Remember Dan Skipper, and I'll get to that. Let's just look at that real quick. Dan Skipper comes in. Here's all the guys that we tried out: running backs, linebackers, edge, defensive end guys. Look at some of these names that we're bringing in. But I love the move to bring in Dan Skipper to the practice squad. Let's bring him in. He's familiar. We know we can use him if we need him. But as far as depth piece on the, so let's just go position group by position group, and you can see that we're okay. Running back, you got Knight coming in for Montgomery. Cool. We got our other two guys that were there anyway. Offensive line wise, Vitai's out, but Graham's going to come in. Cool. Depth is a little bit of a concern now, but we're okay. Decker should be back, but we'll get more information on that. So we're good there. Wide receivers are good. St. Brown seems to be okay. No worries. Defensive line wise, we've got more depth than we've ever had in the years past. So don't forget that. So we've got two defensive line guys out, but we've got depth. We're okay there. Linebackers are okay. And then secondary, Tracy Walker. Let's go. Let's go, Tracy. So I love the fact that we have depth. And I love that we've got a running back that's young, fresh, right on the fringe of making an NFL roster before. So it's not like we just picked this guy out of thin air and we didn't know who he was. Knight's going to be a good player for us. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. I like what we're doing. We're okay. We've got a lot of injuries, but if anything, let's get through these a little bit here. Let's get on to this game. We have two winnable games ahead of us. So we've got Atlanta and Green Bay. This is now the season. Like, if we cannot beat these two teams, then okay, we're going to be fighting for a wild card. We're going to be fighting for the playoffs. That's the team that we are. And fine, right? I mean, that's not what we were hoping for, but that's just what we're going to be if we can't win both of these next two games. If we can win both of these next two games, you're 3-1. What else? I mean, come on. What else do you want? Unless you win every single game, that's not going to happen. We're 3-1 if we win these next two games. So as a recap, the move that I love is that you've got a running back ready to rock and roll. Knight is our guy that we signed to the active roster that slides right in. There's our three running backs. We're okay. I'd also love bringing in Dan Skipper in from the outside. Now he's on our practice squad. He's familiar. And now we're trying out a bunch of guys too. So let's look at it here. The former Spartan, I love that. Cornerback Darius Phillips, who grew up in Detroit and went to Western Michigan, was a Bengals 5th-round pick in 2018. So just a couple names here, right? They highlight a couple of these guys. I love it. But I spent more time recently with the Broncos and the Raiders and Texans practice squad. So all these guys, and that's what you got to remember. I mean, these guys aren't terrible. I mean, it's hard to make the 53-man roster and a couple practice squads. They're right on the fringe. So we're okay. We're okay. We have a culture now. Like, it's going to be okay. Linebacker Jordan Smith was a 4th-round pick just 2 years ago, but failed to latch on to the Jacksonville Jags. We have a culture now that these guys can get into and be okay. So we're deeper than you think, and we have a culture. Again, got to see it, right? And, I can talk about it, be optimistic about the injuries, think we're okay, but at the end of the day, we got to see 2 victories these next 2 weeks. And if we don't, that doesn't mean we're terrible and we're just going to, give up on the season. No, it just means different expectations. It just means that we are a team going to be fighting 9-8 or whatever, trying to fight and claw into the playoffs. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, and we'll see all of you on the next one.